Hey everyone, welcome back to the Fulfilled Female Entrepreneur Podcast. It's your host, Cassandra Rosa, and the mission of this podcast is to help you to create a fulfilling life and business. Today, I'm really excited to be joined by the ladies of the Make Us Proud podcast, and they will be talking about female empowerment. Hey everyone, I'm so excited to record this episode today. I just had a blast with these lovely ladies recording on their podcast. So we're going to leave a link in the show notes for you to check that out. I love you guys already. I feel like we're already having a sisterhood establishing here. So I'm super excited. So I'll set the stage and open up the space for you guys to introduce yourselves. And then I'm excited to share.
Yeah, so we are the Make Us Proud podcast, and I'm Joan.
Hi, this is Marcela.
And I'm Lizzie.
Yes, love this. And just in case you missed it, they're the hosts of the Make Us Proud podcast, which is all about female empowerment. And that's the topic for today, female empowerment and collaboration. So ladies, I'd love to hear from you since this podcast is called Fulfilled Female Entrepreneurs. What fulfillment means to you?
Starting with the tough question, what does it mean? Believe it or not, I thought about this a lot and it's difficult, but I think the way I can describe it is essentially the result of knowing what your priorities are and developing a plan and working towards that plan, right? It's not necessarily something that you come across, in a moment. I think it requires work. At least to me, that's what, those are the ingredients for fulfillment. What about you guys?
I want to agree, but also I want to add that happiness to that list. So everything you just said, but in addition, and I think most of all, just what makes me happy fulfills me.
Love it.
Yeah, very, very similar. I would also add that the choices that I make and the things that I do are inherently aligned to my deepest values. And so every day I'm doing something that's related to those, and I'm working towards, like Marcela said, to what I want to achieve in alignment with those values.
I love it. I love the unique perspectives, but then the unified approach from all of you guys tying it all together, which is amazing. And since you guys are podcast hosts, I want to know, what's the most fulfilling part of having a podcast?
I would say
just talking is wonderful, but go on, Joan.
No, yeah. I was just going to say it's really related to what Marcela said. It's getting together at least once a week and being able to have a deep conversation. I personally work with students on a daily basis, and it's not that you don't have deep conversations with them with 15-year-olds, but sometimes you want to have that connection with other women in your life that are all working towards the life that they want to lead. And it's also great to see the different perspectives that we all have coming together and like learning from one another.
Yeah, for sure. I remember when we first started talking about the idea of doing something that would ultimately get us to talk about things that we don't talk on a daily basis. Or like Joan said, things that you wouldn't talk, to a 15-year-old, for example. But yeah, I think just getting together and talking and making sure that we hear one another more than anything, just hearing each other out. We may not always agree, which is perfectly okay, but just hearing what each of us has to say.
So powerful.
I absolutely agree. I also think that, when we first started doing this, I always tell the story that when these two ladies started it all, and one day I was just added to a group chat and I was like, oh, okay, so we're doing this. And it was very scary. I think sometimes we don't realize how scary it is to actually express your opinions to whoever might be listening. And for me, it has been the practice of doing that that I find rewarding, because I never did it before. And even though, we don't agree or we have difference of opinions, or people may not, agree with what I think, I feel that I'm allowing myself to think about what I want to say and being brave by actually saying it out loud. And that has been, to me, the most rewarding part of doing this with these two ladies that are wonderful, and are my friends. And on the other part, when we started, the few first episodes, I remember we were sharing it with our friends outside, and getting their feedback and getting like the response that I also, this also happens to me, or getting that conversation going on outside of the three of us. I didn't expect it. And it was really awesome that outside of our group, we started talking to the other friends, and having the same conversations and opening that, space or whatever to continue, connecting with one another. It was really powerful, to be honest.
It's
Yeah,
like that idea that, sorry, it's like that idea that as women, we sometimes think that we have these experiences that are very, very individualized. And then you realize that we've all gone through very similar things, and maybe with different perspectives, but it makes you feel a little bit less alone in the world.
Yeah, that community aspect and that connection is what's really standing out from all of your answers. And as women, we love to chat, that's for sure. But being heard and having a platform to be heard and share so openly and being brave, I think is so powerful about podcasting. But I'd love to know, like, what's the journey that allowed you all to come together and talk about all these amazing topics that you talk about on your podcast?
Let me tell you, it started with wine and dinner. No, but on a serious note, Joan, I think, like I said, when you and I first started talking about mostly just getting together and what do we do? What do we do with this idea? And I think we just kind of threw it out there. Joan, you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, definitely kind of going back really far is Marcela and Elizabeth were friends and roommates in college, right? And then Elizabeth and I worked together as teachers at a school. We were on the same team together. And then we started just doing wine. Like we would have like wine and have some dinner like once a month. And then randomly we were like, I was like, what if we just started a podcast and like actually talked about these things that we're talking about here? Because we would talk politics, we would talk just like female empowerment topics and experiences that we've gone through. We're like, this could actually be really interesting to share with people that aren't just in our friend group, right? To share those experiences and hopefully empower other people.
Or even not just like in our friend group, but also within our work circle.
Yeah.
I feel because a lot of the things that Joan and I would talk about would be work related, but also outside of work, Marcela would give us her input. She was that third person with that, third opinion. And I think Marcela phrased it pretty spot on. It was very scary to come on and be like, we're doing this live, we're going to record, we're going to share it with a tons of people outside of our circle. And I think it's gotten a little bit easier, but it's still a little scary.
Do you think it's a little bit easier that the three of you are coming together and collaborating in delivering this message that you have?
Yeah.
I think we're at least, I feel like we're all just more comfortable opening up and being able to disagree or agree or sharing, our opinions on anything that we talk about.
I have an opinion on everything almost. But I can tell you for a fact that if this would not have happened had we not been together, at least for me, this is not something that I would have been brave enough to try on my own. At least, yeah, I don't think so. So it makes it easier, but easier is not the right word. It feels less scary when you're sharing with other people that you can safely express yourself with. And that is the key, to be honest, because even if it was 2 other people or 3 other people, it's the fact that I do believe that we have a good communication amongst ourselves, and we understand, and we understand that regardless of how you see the world or what my perspective is, I love you, you're my friend, we're in this together, and it's what you tell me, I will listen, and not listen to respond, but listen to learn and grow with you. And it makes a difference.
Totally. And on your podcast, you're talking a little bit about comparison on social media and how for women, there's so much comparison out there. And it can be a curse. It can be something that stops us from achieving what we want. So what would you say is something that you've all cultivated together to be in a collaborative and empowering space versus being in competition with each other, which can happen with a lot of women?
I think in our first season, we really just set out to talk about topics and things that we've been through. And now in our second season, we've really started to navigate more hot topics. And I think that by doing that, it's creating a space for us to not necessarily, I want to say like compare ourselves to like other podcasts. Or I think when we first started, we were afraid to offend anyone. We were afraid to say something wrong. And now we're just like, let's just do something that we love and that we want to talk about and that we appreciate, and be able to agree, disagree, and just create our own space essentially, and be okay with the things that we're going to say and whatnot. So that's kind of a way I think we've navigated our podcast space of not comparing ourselves to other podcasts or comparing our who we are to the way people are going to see us and see us negatively.
I think in addition to that, when we listen to other podcasters, whether it's, women or male, I think in like generally speaking, I don't feel like I'm comparing us to them. I feel like, wow, this is a great topic. This is something that maybe we can talk about, or maybe we can add on to, or extend the topic or whatnot. And so I think comparing, I don't think we've done a lot of that.
Like using other platforms as inspiration for
Yeah,
our
exactly.
topics. And that's definitely the way we've gotten now is, oh, you know what? I read this article today, or I saw this post on, I saw a TikTok about this. What if we talk more about this? And just like you were talking about on our podcast as well about using others as inspiration, that's definitely where we're headed now. So
yeah.
And even within our group, I think one thing that we all do, but Lizzie especially is amazing at this, is always saying what you did great at the end of every recording. It's like, Joan, oh my God, that quote. And I can tell you that you walk away feeling like a superhero. She is incredible. We are all supportive. And even when we think about topics, at least I know that we make an effort to find things that it may feel uncomfortable for me to talk about, but let's balance it out. So the next one is something that I'm very passionate about. So I know I'm going to be talking, I already have a problem with that, and just balance it out. So we all have an opportunity to show our passion for any different causes or topics, and at the same time push ourselves to be uncomfortable with the other ones. And just focusing on the topics that we discuss, having that conversation as a group, and recognizing and celebrating the good things that we do.
Yeah, key celebration, uplifting other women, looking at the bright side and sharing that, I think, and communicating that is so powerful. Like we often think, oh wow, my friend looks great in this dress. I might not telling them, but sharing what you think from a wholehearted space is so powerful to help empower other women. And I know that's a big thing that you ladies are all about, is empowerment with your podcast. So in terms of empowerment and collaboration, for the listeners that are listening, what do you think are the biggest tips and takeaways and tools that they can use to empower themselves and to collaborate with other women?
I would say for myself, and a way that I feel we've grown is being around people that you feel very comfortable with. And when I say comfortable, I mean comfortable enough to give each other feedback and to grow and to learn from the situation. So we were just talking about earlier how I'm always being like, hey, we should work on this, you should work on that. And I feel comfortable sharing that with them because I know that they would reciprocate that to me as well. And I believe that you should always be learning from everything that you do, and thinking about, okay, I did this, how can I tweak it next time? And I think that's really powerful when you have a group of women, especially, that are willing to help you in that growth process.
Yeah, for sure, being open to feedback. Um, I don't want to say, oh, because of the industries that we're in, but I think that helps a little bit. Just being super open to the feedback and being able to give it and to receive it and to work on it. So definitely I agree with that, Joan.
So like not taking feedback personally is a way to help people.
Yeah, I'm realizing that they have my back, and they know that I know that the feedback that they're going to give me is inherently to help me and not to tear me down or make me feel bad about myself.
But not also just help you, but us as a group come together. Just we got to make it work together. So yeah.
Because I think it's maybe more so surrounding yourself with people that you can trust, that you can rely on, and that's that takes time. It's not something that happens, it could, but typically it doesn't. But you find people that, or you try to surround yourself with people that you respect, that you admire, and when you look for that honest feedback, that it's safe, right? That it is with the intention of helping you grow. So I think that's what makes a huge difference, is that we know that we support each other. Yeah.
So
I think
powerful.
along those same lines is finding friends that can challenge you as well, in terms of your path that you're headed down, or your job or whatever it is. I think we're always being like, hey, I saw this job, maybe I should apply to this. Or Marcela, I've been like, let me send you my resume before, just people that are going to help you and push you towards the dreams that you want to achieve.
Totally. Anything else that you feel has helped you to become empowered enough, not only to be powerful woman, but to create a podcast? What else gave you that courage and that empowerment to do that aside from each other?
I think pushing each other outside of a limit, even just like Joan pushed me on a professional level, Marcela pushes me on a personal level, just pushing each other, but on a positive note to get, to the next level, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm gonna change it just a little bit. So one thing I've shared with the ladies is that I moved to the States when I was 16 years old. I've always been a talker, and I have always loved public speaking, but my accent was so thick, I felt ashamed and embarrassed to speak in front of anybody. So I was quiet for a good time. Now I'm making up for that. But I feel that it's always been something that I carry with me, and the fact that I know it's always going to be there, and it may be something that I feel self-aware, but taking the step to not care, because this is who I am and this is what I bring. It's not necessarily the way it's pronounced, but the content of what I want to share, that I feel makes me empowered. Quite honestly, it just is freedom, to look at your weaknesses and say, nah, I have something to say. I have something to do, and that to me it could not have been done without this experience, simply.
And for both of, I would say for both of Elizabeth and Marcela, I feel I learned so much from both of them. And we've talked a little bit about this on our podcast, but we come from very different backgrounds. And because of that, when Marcela says her accent is thick, I'm like, her accent and who she is to me what makes our podcast really interesting, because her perspective is so different, and it develops my perspective, it develops other people's perspectives, because when you come from a different background as somebody else, you don't always see things in from their point of view, and it allows me to see it from their point of view, and become more empathetic and compassionate towards different people.
I love that. I love that. So many powerful messages here being shared. And I think what really stands out is the collaboration piece. We can all do things on our own, but I think when women come together and rise together and uplift each other and challenge each other and point out those unique parts that we might not even see in ourselves, is what really allows us to all come together and make a change and achieve what it is that we want to. So with that being said, the podcast, let's talk a little bit about the podcast, what listeners can expect when they tune in and where they can find it.
Yeah, you can find us pretty much anywhere you get your podcasts. We release every Friday about 5:30 a.m. Central Time. And this season, we're really trying to talk about some hotter topics in society, largely around women as well. I know in Women's History Month in February, we're going to talk a little bit more about just some bigger hot topics that that will challenge us as the hosts and challenge our listeners, hopefully, to just think about women and the challenges that we go through.
I love it. I love the topics that you select, and I love the energy and the way that you all collaborate and complement each other so well. It's so fun to listen to and to be a part of, and to be your first guest. It was a lot of fun. So
Yeah,
I know you all have Instagram as well, right? What's the Instagram handle? Do you want to share that again?
it's just Make Us Proud podcast.
Awesome. So we're going to leave a link in the show notes to the podcast and to Instagram. Anything else that you want to share before we hop off today, ladies?
We're so thankful for having you as our first guest, and that we were able to collaborate today.
Yeah.
This is what makes topics like our podcast so great, right? Is because we can collaborate with other women and share other perspectives. So yeah.
Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for coming on.
Great. Thanks.
Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you'll be notified every time I'll upload a new video on Thursday. See you in the next one. Bye.